What do you think of hijab?
The people believe it's for modesty. You know, if you cover yourself, people respect you more. So it's just to elevate women. And with that in mind, I think I have an open feeling about hijab. Like, people always ask me if I will marry a woman who doesn't practice or wear hijab. I'm like, I don't care. Like, there's more to a human being than whether you cover yourself or not.
Hijab to me means self-reminder for me, because like wearing it like giving impression of others to me, like I'm a Muslim, so that's part of my identity.
So, to me, I think the hijab is a way that women in our culture as Muslims use to cover their hair and their beauty in general from those who are not allowed to see them directly.
In my point of view, I think hijab represents a symbol of honor, chastity, and modesty for a Muslim woman.
Well, it means a lot since like I worked as since I was young, and it's a way to show my identity or my religious identity, which is very important to me. Since like especially like in the Western community, Muslim women like seem to be shown as like oppressed, and so also like in the media they're portrayed negatively. So it's a way when I walk outside like on campus or anywhere like in the US or here on campus, it's a way to show that like I'm a normal girl, even though like I'm Muslim, but I'm okay. I'm hijabi and I'm not oppressed. I study abroad. I travel all the way from Saudi Arabia to come here, and it's totally fine. So like I'm not different than any other girls in the other religions or other beliefs, and I'm not different than the guys as well.
Personally, I see it as a restriction, but it's so overall my conclusion is that it's a restriction, but it could be a choice. For example, if somebody is wearing a hijab by choice, I cannot define as a restriction for her. Although I can go back on other forms of restrictions because of indoctrination and then becoming a personal restriction. But it could be also, I think most of the times, it's not even a personal decision. It's just restrictions by society or by relatives and by all other forms of restrictions.
Why do you wear hijab, and have you always worn hijab?
So I started wearing hijab during puberty. At that time, I don't really understand what hijab really means, because I was born in Malaysia. It's such a social norm to have someone who wear hijab, and for someone who doesn't wear it, it's kind of like something out of norm. Would give like bad impression to it, the girls. So, but then when going outside of my culture, my comforting culture, something that doesn't have hijab culture. So I started wondering what's hijab really mean, and I started to feel the power behind the hijab. So that's what I'm wearing hijab.
Well, I grew up in a very Muslim and religious community, so like everyone like around me, like including my mom, my older sister, and all my cousins were wearing hijab. So I picked up like the habit like of wearing hijab since I was little, but I started like really wearing it when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old.
Okay, so I've never worn the hijab, though I did go to a Sunday school for about 10 years, and I wore, you'd call it a scarf. You can call it a hijab, I guess, if you want to. It doesn't really cover my whole head, even though I know that was the attempt. And that's just something I did out of respect, because my Sunday school was at a mosque, and all the other girls were wearing hijabs. The Sunday school teachers were kind of mean to girls that weren't wearing hijabs. Other than that, I have never worn a hijab before. My parents never necessarily asked me to. I never felt like I had to. None of my other family members do. My mom occasionally will wear the scarf as well, but it always slips off because her hair is slippery. And I guess when I do go to the mosque, I always, if I'm going to pray or something, make sure that my hair is covered. Whether if I'm wearing the traditional Pakistani clothing, I'll just wrap a little bit of a fabric around my head, but no actual hijab ever.
Do you think Muslim men should have an article of clothing identifying them as Muslim?
I think both Muslim men and women are supposed to follow the general principle of modesty in their clothing. To have a specific article which identifies them as Muslim is not a requirement in the faith.
And let's say you choose the way Saudi Arabian men dress as a way of representing Islamic men. Are you going to displace all other people from other countries? The way they dress, their cultural way of dressing? So I think that would be like a big problem if people have to say Muslim men should have a certain way of dressing. And I think it's not important in general. Like, I think for me, your beliefs are more important, like your faith, than what you wear, because you're not believing in God, in Allah, because of people. So why wear certain dress? Yeah, I don't believe in that. And I like wearing jeans. Just simple.
I don't think they should. I mean, there can be something, like there's the hijab, so there can be something, but again, it's just a matter of opinion if you want to identify with that thing. But no, it's not important.
For men, well, it's a choice for you if you choose to be identified as a Muslim publicly. But if you, well, to be identified as a Muslim doesn't mean that you need to wear something physically. I would say that it can be something, your behavior, the way you behave with other people, your deeds. So that's how they define Muslim more than physical appearance. I don't think that's necessary, but for someone who want it, yeah, maybe they can just have it.
No, I don't think so, because I see religion as not a thing that can be represented by appearance. It's something that's represented by attitude and morale. So somebody maybe call himself Muslim, but his attitude and morale don't represent Islam or any other religion. So I think appearance doesn't matter that much.
Not necessarily. That might be cool though. It might be cool like, for men like to show their identity, because it is important to show like what you believe and what you think. And being a Muslim is something bigger, like believing in something like such as in anything in religion. It is very important to show like whatever like you believe in.
I don't think we should put like. I see it a different way. So it's now because we're discussing hijab. It's just because of clothing of the Muslim women. So we are comparing to Muslim men. But if we see it as a freedom of choice. We should not say that, okay, if the person A doesn't have a choice, the person B should not have a choice too. We should give choice to both of them. So I don't say that a Muslim man should have a code of clothing, but a Muslim woman should not have a mandatory code of clothing too.
I don't think that men should be like required to wear any type of article of clothing that identifies them as Muslim. I think that's because I don't think women should be required. I don't know where I guess the idea of men being required to wear anything in general comes from. It kind of reminds me of the whole Donald Trump Muslims wearing like a stamp or something that identifies them as Muslim, and I think that's kind of unnecessary when religion is such a personal thing.
Some people see the hijab as oppressive to women. Do you see it as oppressive in any way?
Well, not really, because hijab doesn't prevent women from any activities she wants.
I don't, and I believe it's because, like I said earlier, hijab empowers women because it adds to their modesty. So I don't see any reason why it should be oppressive. But I also want to mention the fact that I don't see anywhere in the Quran where it states that women, it's mandatory for them to wear hijab. Because I'm from a family where people don't wear hijab. My country, not many people wear hijab. It's just like I think less than 5% of the Muslims out of 90%. So it's optional. If people want to, they should. If not, they should not. And if a woman chooses to do it, that should be out of their own love for it. So, and I don't think if you can point at someone and say, you love doing this and it's oppressive.
No, I would say no. I don't see why. Yes, because like, well, I think it's a choice again to wear hijab or not. You choose. And then I think the people who say it's oppression because they don't really understand what hijab meant, and how it feels to wear a hijab. So that's they're seeing from the outsider, so they don't really understand being in a hijab.
I see the hijab as something which frees the woman from the societal expectations of looking a certain way, and it changes the focus from her body and her beauty to her worth as a person, as a human being, her character, her intelligence, her role in society. So from the Islamic perspective, the hijab actually frees her from many of the oppressive expectations which society puts upon her.
I definitely feel it's oppressive in like sense that you'll be viewed differently, you'll be judged given the state of society these days, and it could be emotional, just like someone staring at you, or it could be like in France they banned the hijab, so it could be, it's on different levels. So yeah, it's definitely oppressive.
I don't really think it's oppressive in terms of like wearing it. I think it's more like a religious thing, so if you want to wear it, you can wear it. If you don't need to. But sometimes when it comes to the type of hijab that different women wear, like for example in Western country, if you are like wearing the full coverage hijab like some Muslim countries do, everybody will start gazing at her, which is not the good thing. So I think it should be like wear something that is not attractive or for other people.
I think the only thing I think is oppressive about the hijab is other people's opinions on whether or not women should wear it. I believe it's oppressive when a woman is being looked down upon for not wearing it, and I think it's oppressive when women look like they're inferior for wearing it. From all my friends and family that wear the hijab, they think it's a choice and not an obligation. It's nothing that they were asked to do. And I would argue that all my friends that are American or American raised had to make that difficult decision to wear a hijab, which is far from oppressive in my opinion.
Oppressive by who? That's the first thing. But overall, yeah, it is oppressive, I think. My definition would be it's limiting women or creating more restrictions. So it will be a kind of gender-based discrimination to tell one gender to do something while the other gender is not even have any responsibility regarding it. Although we have code of clothing or hijab code for Muslim men too, but it's way different for a Muslim man and a Muslim woman. For Muslim women, I think it's so much more, and for a Muslim man, it's just the minimum.
So I think one of the things which people need to understand is the way media brainwashes and kind of makes people condition their response when they see different images. So when we see images of Mother Mary in a hijab, or the nuns in hijab, or Mother Teresa, the famous Christian woman, in hijab, we always say, oh, how pure, how religious. But when we see a Muslim woman dressed exactly the same way, we say how oppressed. And this is, just the way the media plays with our mind and makes us condition our responses when we see the exact same thing in two different scenarios.